How often do I change my line? In tournaments, a lot more often. If I'm not fishing tournaments, I get lazy, and as long as it's not getting real kinky and a lot of memory and stuff, I'll just keep fishing it. In tournaments, light line I change every day. Big line I don't. I might run, a week of tournaments with big line. I'm not too really worried about it. But light line, if I'm throwing 8-pound test, I rarely throw 6. If I'm throwing 8, I'm changing it pretty much every day. You just can't, there's just no room for error, them smaller diameter lines. So I'm pretty much on my spinning rods, I'm changing it pretty often. On my casting rods, not very often. The nano fill line, I did spool one up because I just wanted to see it. I just don't have enough time on it. I just don't really have an opinion on that. I'm afraid to say one way or the other. But I wanted to try it just to see. I just haven't got enough time on it. I'm pretty much a P-line guy, and so I fish mostly like CXX P-line or sort of the fluorocarbons, or Fluor Clear is a phenomenal spinning line. And talking about lines, you got really two lines really. You need a bait casting line, you need a spinning rod line. A bait casting line, a good bait caster line is going to be stiff, and it's going to work really good on a casting reel, but a stiff line on a spinning reel spits off the spool all the time. So, and just to the opposite of that, a good limp line on a spinning reel that comes off the spool really nice is going to give you a lot more backlashes on a bait caster. So a good spinning rod line would be like Fluor Clear, and a good casting rod line would be like CXX. And if you reverse them two on those reels, it doesn't work very well. It gives you a lot of problems. But fishing line is very important, and one line does not do it all. But again, a casting rod line and a spinning rod line. The question is what size line do I throw on a spook? Honestly, I throw it on braid. I haven't thrown a spook on anything but braided line in probably more than 15 years. I like to be able to make a mile-long cast and have direct contact with that bait. There's no stretch in braid. And, you just don't make them, gigantic hook sets. All you do is you just tighten up on them and you've got them. I don't care how far out there they are. So most of the time I throw a lot of 50-pound braid. Sometimes I might throw 30 if it's spooled on there, but most of the time I'm throwing about 50. And I like to take a big magic marker. I like the one that's made by Marks a lot. It's called a Colt 44. It's got a big pad on it about the size of your thumb. And I just take a razor blade or my pocket knife and I cut a slit in it. That way I stick my line in there. And I believe black is the best color. I don't care what color line my braid is, all of it bleaches out anyway. And I paint it black. At least the last 10 or 12 feet of my line is black. Most of the time for me, I like about the last 20 or 30 feet. Then I just pull it off on my boat. I stick it in that Marks a lot, and I just reel it up and I make that last 20 or 30 feet black. And I think that's the best color. I think it's far better than green or brown. It's just straight black. But I really like throwing a braided line on buzz baits, spooks, any of those baits that I can toss a mile and just tighten up on them and get a good hook set. What's my best memorable fish? It would actually be the biggest fish I've ever caught. But there's a lot more reason that fish is so memorable, because I was throwing a jerkbait on Folsom. I set the hook, and I knew it was a big fish, but it was so big, I didn't know if, that I foul hook a carp or a catfish. And when I set the hook and I collared for Richard to get the net, because we were in a tournament, and he was he was young, maybe 10 years old, and he says, "No, Dad, get the net. I've got a 5-pound smallmouth." Because his fish had already jumped, and he knew he had a 5-pound smallmouth. So here, I've got a big fish on, he's got a big fish on, and I don't know what mine is, and mine just taking drag. I just backed my drag off, I dipped his smallmouth, and I said, put her in a live well and just cut your bait off, because it was all in the net and stuff. Put her in a live well and get the net, and let's find out what I've got. So I tightened my drag back down to normal, and I chased this fish down, and I fought her up, and it was I think it was 1287, and it was just the biggest largemouth I've ever caught. And the most memorable part was the fact we were in a tournament, the fact we were getting our butt kicked really, really bad, and we do a double hookup on 2 big ones. That Richard would have had big fish if I hadn't have caught that one. We had the 2 biggest fish in the tournament, and we actually took 17 pounds with second. We had 17 pounds and 2 fish. It was pretty cool. But I'll remember that forever. Remember him forever. "No, Dad, get the net. It's a 5-pound smallmouth."